Have you ever caught yourself blowing up for something seemingly small? A crooked word, a crossed look, a traffic delay, and suddenly it's like someone presses a button inside you. The question is, who has access to this button? Most people live on emotional autopilot. They react, they explode, they retract, dramatize, and then say, "I had no choice." But what if you did? What if I told you that there is a space, tiny but powerful, between the stimulus and the response? A space where your freedom resides, your sovereignty, your true self. The problem is that this space is invisible to those who live hostage of their own impulses, who lives only reacting to what happens outside, completely loses control of what happens inside. Truly free people do not react automatically. They observe, breathe. They question their own impulse before acting. It's not about becoming indifferent. It's about becoming conscious. And are you reacting or are you choosing? Have you ever stopped to think why certain words hurt you while others just slip away as if they had no weight? Why can a stranger's comment affect you so much and at the same time someone next to it barely understands? The truth is uncomfortable, but liberating. Nothing hurts you without your permission. If something hits you, it is because it has found something inside of you. An insecurity, an old wound, a part of you that still needs to be seen. The world is not cruel, it is mirror. Every criticism that takes you off the axis, every contempt that dismounts you, every failure that paralyzes you are revealing something you might prefer not to see. But ignoring that won't protect you. It will just keep you stuck in this cycle where others push the buttons and you react. So the question is, what exactly within you allowed it to hit you? Because when you start to see it that way, every discomfort becomes an opportunity, every pain on a map, each attack an invitation to come back inside, and at that moment, you stop being a hostage of what happens outside and begin to free yourself from the inside. Two people look at the same sky. One sees dark clouds and threat. The other sees beauty, movement, and depth. The sky is the same, but the experience completely different. Why? Because it's not what happens that defines what you feel. It's how you interpret. It's the lens, not the world. Have you ever wondered how many times you suffered for something that you later saw was not so bad? The mind creates stories, and we believe them as absolute truths. But what if the story is wrong? What if that failure is just a necessary route deviation? What if that insult is only the echo of the other's pain? And if that loss is, in fact, a disguised liberation? You have more power than you think, not about what happens, but about what it means. And that changes everything, because when you change the lens, you change the landscape, you change the weight, you change yourself. So the question is, what story are you choosing to tell now? Have you ever felt a rage that seems to come out of nowhere? A nuisance that you can't explain? A trigger that takes you completely without warning? These reactions do not arise from the moment. They come from the basement of what you tried to hide, from what was repressed, denied, ignored. Carl Jung called it shadow. All that you don't want to be but are. All that you don't want to feel, but feel. The bad news, you cannot get rid of the shadow. It will appear, always, especially when you least expect. The good news, it doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to show you what still needs to be integrated. Every negative emotion is a message, every trigger, a call, every discomfort, an invitation to look inside for truth, but most run, react, attack, or hide. And you? Do you have the courage to face what lives in silence within you? Because only when you illuminate the shadow, it stops controlling your thoughts, your choices, your reactions. You do not become perfect, you become whole. And that is freedom. Have you ever tried to control everything around you? People, situations, answers, the opinion of others? The truth is that the search for control is exhausting, and in the end, always frustrating. Because the control you think you have is an illusion. You can try to predict, plan, impose, manipulate, but life always finds a way to remind you, you are not in charge out there. And this is frightening, right? Because we have been taught that security comes from dominating the external, but the real power lies in commanding the internal. You can't control what the other person will say, but you can choose whether it will affect you. You cannot control the weather, the market, the surprises of the world, but you can control how your mind interprets and responds to all this. That is where the real domain resides, not on others, but on yourself. And when you understand that, you stop trying to adjust the world to your comfort and start adjusting your consciousness to what the world brings you. So think about it. Are you trying to control the storm, or are you learning how to navigate through it? The word surrender scares you, doesn't it? It looks like weakness. It seems to give up. But what if it is the other way around? And if surrender is the greatest act of strength you can practice? Most people spend their lives trying to force the flow, insisting on control, pushing the river in the opposite direction. They want the world to work as they think it should be, and when it does not work, get frustrated, get exhausted, get lost. But there is a moment when something inside you realizes the more you push, the less things flow. Then you let go, not for weakness, but for wisdom. You stop fighting reality, accepts what is, not with resignation, but with presence. And ironically, it is at this very moment that everything begins to align. Life has a rhythm, it has an intelligence of its own, and it does not need to be mastered, only understood. Conscious surrender is not passivity, it is aligned action. It is to stop acting out of fear and start acting out of clarity. So, when was the last time you let go of control? Not by defeat, but by confidence. Did you know that your emotional reactions are not random? They do not arise from nothing. They are mental habits. Imagine your mind as a road. The more you go through the same path, the more it is marked. Easier to walk it even without noticing. And that way is where the automatic reactions happen. But here's the secret. You can reprogram the road. You can create new paths. Neuroscience shows that the brain is plastic. It molds, adapts, transforms with practice and intention. And that's where you find power. Emotional reactions can be rewritten. You're not attached to them. You are not a slave to your automatic impulses. So when the trigger appears, when that anger, frustration, or fear invades, you can choose to respond in another way, can breathe, can observe, can slow down. It's not easy, of course, it's a training, but is it possible? And the truth, it's not the external events that cause suffering, but how you trained your brain to react to them. How many times have you seen yourself reacting in an exaggerated way or felt disconnected from who you really are? This happens because we often live identified with a version of ourselves that is not true, a fragile self-image shaped by external validation and social narratives. Have you ever stopped to ask, who am I really? Or have you lost yourself in the roles you play, the masks you wear, the expectations of others? The false self is a construction, a character you wear to be accepted, loved, recognized, but deep down, it is never you. It is only a shadow of what you really are. And liberation begins the moment you realize you are not your anger, you are not your sadness, you are not success, you are not failure. These emotions, these roles, they are only moments, not the totality of who you are. When you begin to unidentify yourself from this false version of yourself, you reconnect with the true force that resides within you. You free yourself from the endless cycle of seeking validation outside. You find the peace of being who you really are, because the authentic I does not need approval. He just needs acceptance, and it starts inside you. Now ask yourself, who would you be if you stopped being all that you think you are and started being just you? If this video touched you in any way, take a deep breath. Now imagine how many other people need to hear it too. Enjoy this video to reach who is still losing trying to fit. Subscribe to the channel. Here we do not wear masks, we take off. And if you've come this far, I invite you to take the next step. Click on the next video and continue this journey back to yourself. Because sometimes, all we need is someone to say, "You are not alone. I see you in the next video."